Everything was already driving me crazy when Dean abruptly slid under my panties. The second his fingers slid beneath the fabric of my panties, I froze, every muscle in my body locking up as a wave of terror crashed over me, far stronger than the relentless craving that had been consuming me. This wasn't what I wanted, not really. The addiction had warped my senses, turning every gentle touch into a trigger, but deep down, I was screaming for it to stop. Dean's fingers were rough, callous from what I assumed were weekend hikes or home repairs, but they moved with an odd sort of hesitation, as if he was second-guessing his own actions. "Stop," I whispered, my voice cracking so violently that I barely recognized it. It wasn't a demand, more a plea, thin and fragile, lost in the quiet hum of the night. The crickets had fallen silent, as if even they were holding their breath, and the only sounds were our ragged breathing and the distant rustle of leaves in the breeze. Dean's hand stilled immediately, his eyes darkening under the moonlight as he stared down at me. I could see the conflict in his gaze, confusion, concern, and something else I couldn't quite place, curiosity maybe, or a quiet understanding that went beyond mere sympathy. "What's happening to you?" he asked, his voice lower than a whisper. He pulled his hand away slowly, as if moving too fast would shatter me, and stepped back just enough to give me space. I collapsed onto the grass, my legs giving out beneath me, and buried my face in my hands. The shame flooded in like a tidal wave, hot and suffocating. I'd never told anyone about my addiction, not my parents, not my few friends, not even my therapist. It was a secret I'd carried for years, a weight that grew heavier with each passing day, and now Dean, a man I barely knew beyond polite office small talk, had stumbled onto the ugliest part of me. "I'm sick," I mumbled into my palms, the words muffled and broken. Not the kind of sick that needs antibiotics or bed rest. The kind that makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. The kind that makes me scared to be around people, scared to touch anyone, scared that one wrong move will make me lose control completely. Dean didn't say anything for a long time. I could feel his eyes on me, but he didn't press, didn't demand answers. He just stood there, silent and steady, like a rock in the middle of a storm. When I finally lifted my head, I found him sitting cross-legged on the grass beside me, his gaze fixed on the distant glow of the tents. "My sister had an eating disorder," he said suddenly, his voice soft. "For years she hid it, purging in the bathroom after meals, lying about how much she ate, wearing baggy clothes to hide how thin she was. We all knew something was wrong, but no one knew how to ask. She didn't want help, she wanted to be invisible. Does that feel familiar?" I nodded, a lump forming in my throat. It did, more familiar than I wanted to admit. Invisibility had been my goal for so long. I'd avoided office parties, declined coffee runs with colleagues, kept my desk neat and impersonal, all to keep people at arm's length. If no one got close, no one would see the cracks in my facade. "The medicine," I said, finally finding the courage to speak plainly. "I take medicine to keep the urges at bay. It's not a cure, just a band-aid. And I forgot to bring it with me. This team building was last minute, and I was so stressed about the presentation I have next week that I left it on my bathroom counter." Dean nodded slowly, as if processing every word. "So when we touched, when I put my hand on your forehead, that's what triggered it?" I winced, but nodded again. Even a brush of skin can do it on a bad day. Tonight, without the medicine, it's worse than ever. I can't stop my body from reacting,